I want to do a little coach speak, fellas, a little coach speak translation for the audience. Let's start with the Colorado quarterback situation. After sputtering a bit in the second quarter offensively, Deion Sanders turned to QB3 Ryan Staub, who played most of the middle of the game. Kaidon Salter played in the fourth quarter, and Julian Lewis, the freshman, actually came in sparingly in the fourth quarter to actually kneel down. ESPN reported this morning that Staub, not Lewis and not Salter, will start against Houston on Friday. That also led us to Deion's press conference earlier today when Coach Prime said this.
The expected starter against Houston. Are you able to confirm that?
I'm not confirming nothing to y'all. Y'all know that. We ain't like that. We good. We have capable guys. Staub has been doing a phenomenal job doing and getting the majority of the reps, but I haven't made that assessment and decision yet.
Hi, Coach.
You know, in today's media, we don't care about being correct anymore. We just want to be first. And there's no subjection to you when you're wrong. Nobody says nothing. You just go with it. I'm not saying that's the case, but that's where we are in media. Nobody gives a darn about being correct or being right. Everybody just want to be first. That don't make no sense to me. I would love the integrity that we once had with media.
All right, I want to take Coach Prime's comments in two parts because he's obviously pretty fired up about this situation. Let's talk first about the facts of the matter as we understand them. Chris, I'll go to you first about what we're hearing about Colorado's quarterback situation.
Well, first, I want to live up to Deion Sanders' assessment of the media, and I'm only going to refer to Staub as Martin Luther Staub because I am sure that is his official name after what Deion Sanders coined him on Saturday. I think this is one of those situations where like the reporting is ultimately going to be correct. Like I'd be surprised if Staub was not starting on Saturday for Colorado. He has been getting the majority of the reps, like Deion Sanders said. I think this comes down to a couple things. I don't think they've necessarily gotten what they've wanted out of Kaidon Salter so far. And I think a lot of people probably point to this as a indicament of Julian Lewis's play. And I don't really think that's the case either. I think he's somebody that they want to develop and bring along, but this is a difficult situation going into Houston, a team that I think has only given up 9 points all season. And the way Staub played on Saturday, I think he earned those reps, talking to people kind of around the situation. And the media element, I'm sure we'll get to, but I think that's just kind of the reality. Like Staub earned the job.
No, first of all, I completely disagree with the media element. I can't speak for everybody else, but one of the things I appreciate about this team is obviously we pride ourselves on a nice combination, trying to lead the way as much as we possibly can and being first on stuff because that is an important component of the field, but balancing that with making sure that if we're putting something out there, we can feel 150% good about that and take a lot of pride in that, while at the same time, that the last part of what Deion said about no ramifications or no blowback if it's wrong on something, that's obviously not the case either, which should lead to our field as a whole taking a lot of pride in just, if you're putting something out, making sure that it is correct. And in this case, I do think that the information will end up being correct. I don't know if Deion's reached a point of making the official decision or notifying the quarterbacks. I'm sure that report didn't come out of nowhere, but at the same time, if you were betting on this, I think you would be safe betting on him ultimately being the starter come Saturday. And look, all you have to do is go back to Deion's post-game interview the other day. So Staub closed out the game the way that he did, had strong finish to the game, helped them win. And then Deion, during the course of that post-game interview, was asked about starter moving forward. And he didn't say that he had made a final call, but did note that he essentially saw the same thing that everyone else saw.
Quick stat, by the way, between Kaidon Salter and Staub, right? So Kaidon Salter is averaging 5.7 yards per attempt so far. Staub is averaging 10 more yards per attempt than Kaidon Salter so far. He's at 15.7. Like it made a monumental difference for that offense and the ability to stretch the field. And I think the results of that were pretty obvious.
Yeah, I think the first thing that's key in what Deion Sanders said is that Staub has been taking most of the reps. He literally said that. That should lead you to believe a certain thing. Granted, it is only Tuesday. I don't know if Colorado is a morning practice team or an afternoon practice. So I don't know if they'd actually practiced on Tuesday by 1 o'clock Eastern when Deion had these comments. Matt's point here is interesting in the process of what is actually happening. There is a thing that all of us run into when we're reporting something that we either know to be fact or pretty darn sure is going to be fact, with injuries or depth chart stuff specifically. And it's the position room or the team or the coaching staff or the whoever hasn't been told yet. And a lot of times, just to kind of bring people kind of behind the curtain inside the insiders, you know, we'll talk to sources who say, hey, let me tell my guys first. Let me tell my position room first. Let me tell the parents first. Let me tell whoever first, so that they don't hear potentially from the internet, or they don't hear from Twitter, or they don't hear from somebody, or what have you. So some of this is, quite frankly, semantic, in my opinion. Deion, certainly, as any coach, is not going to be very happy if his quarterback situation leaks, just like he's probably not going to be happy if his linebacker situation leaks or his wide receiver situation leaks. He doesn't want something about his depth chart to leak. So I get it. I understand where he's coming from. But there's part of this that is, in the process of reporting, that sometimes butts up against the people who want to control the flow of information, John.
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it there, Richard. I mean, what is best for Deion in Colorado? It's not always best for us, but I do think that knowing everyone on this podcast, like, we go out of our way to try to be diligent in not creating unfortunate situations for those programs. I think there have been numerous times I can think over the years where we've heard from people involved that this guy's getting all the first team reps, and we still don't necessarily say he's the starter because he hasn't been declared the starter. He hasn't been told he's a starter. You still wait on that kind of information. I think with this one in particular, I give Deion a thumbs up in one area and a thumbs down in another. The media stuff he's just wrong about. I mean, he's been in the media. He should know better. It's very easy to just say there's no repercussions. If you look at the poor girl who had a bad top 25 at AP getting dunked on all day, like, if people think you're wrong, they let you know over and over again. So I completely disagree with him there. Where I give him some props is going to the guy who has looked so far to be the best quarterback over two guys who are a lot more highly regarded, who are much more well compensated. There are guys who wouldn't do that. And I think Deion actually is old school in certain ways in that regard. He's going to try to play the guy who gives the team the best opportunity. But if you think about Salter, again, that's a transfer guy. You comes in thinking he's going to start. Julian Lewis is a guy very hyped up for years now. People around college football will tell you probably overhyped in some ways, but a big addition. You think it's going to be one of the two. None of us really had Staub. At least I didn't have on my radar at the beginning of the season. So credit to Deion for sensing, all right, this guy gives us the best chance to win, even if it is going to upset some of the other guys in that room.
One of the things also with this, and again, not to go too inside baseball, but there's a competitive disadvantage component of this that we work through. So when it comes to injury reporting, player availability, quarterback decisions, quarterback changes, there's a reason that a lot of this stuff doesn't get out until later in the week, whether it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday morning of the game. And so, some of it's a combination where in certain cases, those decisions aren't made legitimately until that point. Other times, it's part of finding that balance where, like in this case with Colorado, they play Houston on Friday. It's going to be a competitive game. Houston's looked solid through the first couple of weeks of the year. Regardless of what Deion's doing, I'm sure he doesn't want Houston knowing that information at this early point of the week and wants to keep that under wraps as long as possible. So it goes along with just, again, finding that balance of trying to lead the way on stuff and balancing that with just working with some of the relationships that we have. And sometimes it leads to all of us missing on stories at different points, but it's part of that difficult balance that we have to find, even if we know in certain cases that something is 100% happening.